I didn't have to go into the complete details, but I was definitely seeing the teacher after school. Welcome to the Hard Up Garage, where we've got stories about cars. Yes, that's right, car stories. So at 8 years old, I was past kind of go-karting. I loved a bit of go-karting, but I wanted something a little bit, more road-like. And my dad went out for my 8th birthday and bought me a white Austin Mini race car. So in England, we had a little stock car with a little mesh windscreen welded up front. And at 8 years old, I had a race car. I mean, what other 8-year-old has a race car? I mean, it's pretty goddamn cool. And the legal age to race in this SAA racing in England is 10. So my dad says, Sam, when we get in there, when the man asks you how old you are, you say 10. And I went, okay. So I walk in there and he goes, how old are you? 8. But my dad told me I'm 10. I'm 10. So you can imagine my dad's face, None of the pleased, shall we say, none of the happies. And the guy's like, okay, whatever. And I signed up, I got my SAA license, and I could finally race at a place called Horndean Racetrack, which is now derelict. And I had this little white race car, and my dad said, what number do you want to be? I was like, I don't know. I want like 22 for my birthday or 12, and all the good numbers are gone, So he said, on snooker, the maximum break is 147, and you're going to break it, so let's go for 147. So I was 147A, is in Prod A race cars. I was like, brilliant, no worries. So 8 years old, the real fun of the BHP or, the RPMs were pulsing through my body through racing cars at 8 years old, And I can tell you the first ever race that I had, which was pretty much my dad's scariest day of his life. So we're out there and I'm obviously driving this car around for the first time in my life. And I'm being lapped by the winner at this point. We're probably a lap in, 2 laps in, and I'm already being lapped. That's how goddamn good I was at racing cars, And he starts coming, this winner's coming around the outside of me. And I didn't realise what was going on. I mean, I'm 8 years old. I'm looking where I'm going. I'm not looking where I've been. Do you know what I mean? And I'm driving. And I'm edging to the side of the track. What I didn't know, and what my dad didn't know, because obviously we're all strapped in race harnesses and looking where we're going, and my dad's scared as it is because he thinks I'm going to roll it. And I'm pushing the winner that's trying to overlap me closer and closer to the side of the track. What I didn't know, because I had to stop the race half a lap later, is that I single-handedly pushed the winner that was trying to lap me up onto the verge and onto his roof into the gutter at 8 years old. So, from an early age, I was pissing people off and buying cars. So, but this takes me to the first time I ever bought a car. I'm at school, and at school in England, we have dinner ladies and hot dinners. You can either have a packed lunch or a hot dinner. And hot dinners were expensive, and my mum and dad didn't have a lot of money, so packed lunch was for me, And my dinner lady found out that every time I'd speak, her name was Mrs. Littleboy, right? I don't know where she is or if she's still with us or whatever, but I remember she sort of always asked me about cars, and she said, oh, I've got these 2 Yugo Sanas out the back of my house. And I didn't even know what a Yugo Sana was. I said, I'm 13 years old. I think I know what a Mini is and a Ford Escort is, that kind of stuff, but I didn't know what a Yugo Sana was. And she's like, well, I want to get rid of them. Would you give me 50 quid for them? And I was like, oh my God. £50? That's a lot of money. I'm 13. I mean, bloody hell, So I was like, okay. So I went round there and I saved up and washed some cars and cleaned some windows and did everything I could, did a paper round. I got 50 quid together. And I walked around and I bought 2 real cars. Not toy cars like you could buy for £30 in like Asda's or Walmart. This is a real car. And I mean, it's quite literally the worst car I've ever bought in my life because it was rotten and there was nothing left of it. But it was goddamn cool. They didn't run, they needed fuel. And it was the first car I properly worked on. I got underneath it and I covered myself in stagnant petrol, and I dropped the petrol tank on my chest and I nearly died. I electrocuted myself on the coil pack trying to do the HT leads at 13 years old and trying to see if I got spark. So I'm asking people, well, pull this lead off and turn it over. Ooh, yeah, that works, Have you got fuel? Well, it smells like cat urine, shall we say. It's gone off, so we drained the tank, put new fuel in, and I got 1 out of the 2 cars running, which was amazing. One of them was, the engine had blown a long time ago and was seized, but the other one we got running. Shame I already put £20 worth of petrol in the tank, but that's fine. And I put them on this thing back in the day called Friday Ad, and we had the free ads, which was like a bright yellow newspaper, and you basically, anything you wanted to sold, it was like the eBay of the day. You know, you had like your houses, your classified ads. As a young man, you always checked out the classified ads of the older women teaching younger men, and in the back was the cars. And you know, for me, you get it on a Thursday morning, I'd run down there at 13, spend £1, get my magazine, and I put my first advert in at 13 years old. These two Yugo Sanas, one running and driving, one for spares, 250 quid. And my phone erupted, or shall I say my mum's landline erupted. And the phone rang and rung and rung. Hello, this is Sam Hard. Hi there, I believe you have a Yugo Sana for sale. You are correct, actually. I have two Yugo Sanas for sale. Can you tell me a little bit more about the car? No, I don't know anything about cars, but I'm selling you a car. Perfect. So the guy wants to come and buy. Sorry, Mum. I don't want to use any of your credit. So, turns out the guy wants to come and buy both the Yugos. The problem with a Friday ad or a free ad advertisement is that you can't stop it, okay? So when you put it up on the Thursday, that book can land in a dentist or a doctor's for the next 3 or 4 months. So I could have sold that car probably 300 times over at that price. I probably gave it away too cheap, maybe I did, but it was a lot of money for a 13-year-old boy, you know. And the phone rung and rung and rung. And from that day on, my mum never ever let me put another ad in the free ads, because my phone, it was just ridiculous. I think she unhooked it in the end and like got another number. My old phone number was 01329 220 782. That was the landline. And not long after that, they changed the landline to some other number because they got fed up of the phone calls on the Yugo Sana. But, you know, I sold it, and to this day, you know, to make £200, you know, minus your fuel costs, so you probably stole out your dad's car anyway, was amazing at sort of 13 years. And I think that's where I got the bug, you know. Some people have addictions like alcohol or women, or, you know, getting overweight like food. I've got a problem where I just buy too many cars, you know. I was a bit of a wally chops as a young man. I was let's say I found myself a bit of the class clown. I was always talking too much, always winding people up and, you know, getting them excited, and then I'd be the one taking the flak for it. I suppose it was my fault. I should have probably took the flak for it. And one year my music teacher, who was also one of the deputy heads from the school, told me that her Mazda 121, I believe it was, which was like a Ford Fiesta but badged as a Mazda, had broken down. So I'm in the car park trying to get this thing running, and she said, no, it's done. And I must have been 15, 16 years old by now. And so at 15, 16-year-old, I was trying to see if I could fix her car. I wanted to show that I was the man, you know. I want to be this cool chap that could fix anything. Turns out her engine had blown up. I had no chance. And what I did have at the time was I bought another Ford KA. So these were quite new at the time. It was a bit rusty. I did a few bits and pieces on it, and I got it running. And I think it owed me like £300. So 3 years down the line, I'd sort of upgraded to more expensive, more modern cars. And she was like, oh, my car's broken, I'm going to have to buy one. So the first car I ever sold to like a human being, as opposed to just someone online, someone I knew, was my deputy head music teacher. And I took her car in part exchange. Yes, I did, because I was the man. And I found out what part exchange was at that point. And I sold her this KA. And the funny thing was, that car lasted about 10 years, you know. You can imagine when you're at school with your teacher that you sold a car to, the one thing you don't want is to sell this lady a lemon, right? And that was the one car that just went on and on and on, you know, and sort of gave me this renowned reputation for being the idiot at school that's a kid that's selling cars to teachers. It's pretty goddamn cool, you know. Looking back on it, my music teacher, I think you find people attractive that, you know, you feel you might have a chance with, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? So when you got a teacher that thinks you're a car mechanic, even though you're 15 years old, that interacts with you, you have common, you know, stuff to talk about that's in common, and you get on with, I think that puts some sort of attraction out there as a young man, you know? Oh my God, this woman is talking to me. She's talking to me outside of school, you know? And I think that's what sets you up in life on what you find attractive. I mean, she wasn't stick thin. She was a lovely person, and she had a pretty face. I mean, You know, nowadays I kind of like skinny ladies that are blonde hair, but you know, I think it does really set your levels of what you want out of a lady in life, you know. So, you know, at 14, 15 years old, being talked to about adult subjects was flattering. Do you know what I mean? There was no one else in my school talking to, you know, teachers about cars or about how you get to work or your evening life. To talk to an adult about these personal things was a bit overwhelming for a young man, you know. And I think to be absolutely honest, to say I had a crush on her was probably an understatement at that point. You know, you're still trying to be cool and be calm and whatever. But I'm pretty sure I was telling all my mates that I was seeing the teacher after school, you know. I didn't have to go into the complete details, but I was definitely seeing the teacher after school. There is actually one more story here, which you guys might like. So let's think I was 15 years old. Okay, so what's that? I'm 32 now. 17 years ago, right? And there was a phone called the GX10, which was a Sharp mobile phone, and it was one of the first ever colour mobile phones, right? And even my teachers didn't have mobile phones that had colour screens. So what I did at 15 years old was my white mini race car, which I had since I was 8 years old, was sat rotting away in my back garden. And I swapped my Mini for a mobile phone, right? So I swapped a race car for a mobile phone, which is absolutely unheard of. So at 15 years old, I was probably the only person in my school of 600 pupils to have a colour mobile phone. I mean, that's pretty cool. Like, you know, the laws of upgrading, most people nowadays would swap, you know, a car for another car or a motorbike or cash. But no, I swapped a car for a mobile phone. Please go to our channel homepage and click on the playlist to watch more Hard Up Garage videos. If you like what we're doing, click on that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and you can also help us by leaving a comment and click the like button. Please share this episode on social media with your friends and family. But while you're there, why not follow us at Hard Up Garage on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. If you follow us on social media, you'll see when we've got brand new videos for you lovely people. And don't forget to visit hardupgarage.com, where you can get some background on what we do and buy some of our much loved merchandise. Goodbye from Sam from Hard Up Garage, and thank you for listening to my lovely car stories about cars.